So in today's video, I want to talk to you about some methods to start opening up to the other world or the underworld. So we can talk about it all we want, but until you're given the tools to access this other dimension, it really does you no good. Okay, so I'm going to go over some tools. Again, I was initiated by the Otherworld, and then they gave me messages and visions of what to do to take it even deeper. So I'm going to share those with you. So the first one is working with the tarot. And I know a lot of people think, oh, this was just a card playing game and it turned into divination tool and all that. It's not. It's encoded information. And you only really have to work with the major arcana. So the major arcana is actually taking you through the journey of this underworld tradition. You know, we all start off as the fool, you know, in this search. You know there's something more out there, and you're about to step off that ledge and you're going down. And all the situations that you will encounter are reflected in the major arcana. Again, I didn't want this path. This was, again, I was initiated by the Otherworld. I just saw a vision of all these tarot cards falling. So I knew what tarot cards were. I never worked with them. I never had any interest in working with them. So I saw the vision of them falling, and then it says, the tarot is magic. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I was actually afraid of the tarot because of conditioning. You know, I thought it was something bad and evil and all that nonsense or whatever. So I got a tarot deck. And I was very uncomfortable working with it. And I actually even like put it away for a while, and then I got it back out again. And then I started working with it and things really started moving. Okay, so I didn't even know what to make of it at the time. I didn't know anything about it, but the pictures are reflecting the journey that we don't even know that we've stepped on. So it's all unconscious, and so even you just looking at the pictures will start waking things up inside of you. So I recommend the Rider-Waite deck. I like the Centennial Edition. The colors are a little more muted, and it's just, you know, they're just kind of like more aged looking, and I don't know. I just like this deck. This is the one that I teach with. I do have a esoteric tarot course on my website. I also, it's part of Patreon. If you're at the $25 level, you have access to all 33 videos of the tarot course. But it does start opening pathways and doing something to you. So that message was correct that I received, that there is something magical, but I don't think it's in every deck. The pictures and everything that I was shown that were falling was this Rider-Waite deck. So the people that came up with this deck and the artists, they were very heavily involved in like esoteric studies, and they knew what the pictures should reflect and the colors and all that. And so I would stick with that deck. The more newer decks or new agey decks or whatever, they don't necessarily reflect the underworld journey. They've put sometimes a more positive spin on it and all that kind of stuff. I do use those decks for divination, but when we're doing this kind of work where you're on this path and wanting to open up to the unconscious part of you, I would suggest this deck. Okay, so the next thing that came up for me that really opened up a lot was the runes. I believe the runes are very ancient. I think they're older than what we've been told. And chanting the runes, I remember the first time I did it, my head was like really buzzing, and I felt kind of strange and weird. So chanting the runes does open up some pathways. The esoteric version of the runes is you don't start with Fehu, you start with Urus. So Fehu goes at the end. So Fehu is like wealth, reward, and all that kind of stuff. That comes at the end of the journey. The journey starts with Urus, which is determination and strength. That is what you need on this journey. And at the end, after you go through all the runes and the path and the journey, the reward's at the end. You don't start out with reward. Okay, so that's kind of the exoteric version of the runes. The esoteric or hidden value of the runes is Fehu's at the end. I would suggest, this is what I do, this is what I teach. I also have a rune course, and if you're at the $25 level and above on Patreon, you have access to all the rune videos, but you can also take the course on my website. I suggest only working with 8 runes at a time. So what you're going to do is you're going to memorize them, and you're going to speak them, and you're going to chant them over and over again. So eventually you'll memorize the symbol, how to say it. You can, at first you can just read them in order, and then starting with Urus, and then eventually you're going to want to memorize them, and it's easy, 8 at a time, you can do it. And then you'll just kind of go into a meditative state and just keep chanting them over and over and over again, and it's going to open something inside of you. And then you go to the next 8, and then you go to the last 8. And even just working with the runes does something also. So they're another kind of magical sigils that we work with. Things will come up, and you'll notice that when you're working with the runes, if you're working like on the course, we take like 1 rune a week, and you'll notice that when we're working with that rune, it's kind of manifesting in your life in the outside world. It's really magical and bizarre, but it just shows you how powerful the runes are. Another one, I have a video here free on YouTube. It's called Stop Meditating and Try This Instead. And this is walking contemplation in nature. That also opens up the other realms. It allows you to get, downloads and messages. And again, you kind of have to work through the land and nature to access this other dimension, this other world. So it's something that's kind of really important on this path. So that's something, you can watch that video and do that practice. And incubation was huge for me. It moved so much. I had like past life memories. I had energy moving through me. I had beings communicating with me. I kind of learned it on my own and started doing the practice on my own. And then I discovered it's a very ancient shamanic technique of kind of opening up yourself to the other world and clearing your body, and it's just an amazing practice. And I'll put a link below if you're interested in learning incubation. And then the last one that I can think of is mantra. This was kind of an excruciating process for me. I learned how to do it. It's using Vedic astrology. It's a 40-day ritual that you do for 40 days. And if you miss a day, you have to start all over again. But halfway through it, a lot of stuff comes up, that things that you thought you were over, it comes up. You want to stop halfway through because it's just too much, going on and emotions and everything. But if you can push through, it clears a lot for you. And a lot of people have really extraordinary experiences. They go through some type of what I would consider a shamanic experience or initiation. It's a personal ritual, and it's a personal mantra for you. And I have to know where you were born, what time you were born, and your birth date. So if you're interested in that, I will put that link below. So I don't recommend anything that I didn't do myself. And that was really significant in opening up more of the underworld or the other world. It was already open to me, but I had a lot of clearing and healing to do. And then it just took me deeper, deeper, deeper into it. And opened up the communication even more. So we have to do these practices to make connections and open ourselves up. You have to go through a purification to really be admitted, I guess is what I want to say, into this other world. They're very protective of who is allowed in. You have to be at a certain level of consciousness, and you have to purify all those that darkness and our own demons and everything that we've been suppressing. Anything that's unconscious, it has to come up and be released. You have to rectify all of that. We have to integrate our light and dark parts of us. And so these are the techniques that I used, and they were very monumental and huge for me. And I would never recommend something that I didn't do myself. I hope you try some of these methods, but strap on your seatbelt, because they can be very trying, but that's part of this tradition. Again, it's not for the weak, but it does lead to your liberation. All right, so that's it for today's video, and I'll see you on the next one.